This isn't my desk. Where am I? This is all a bit much. New things are happening, and I still need writers, but also we need to talk about the three biggest headaches that will ruin living on a sailboat for you. Okay, so I have to assemble a team of writers. I mentioned this before. I want an article a day on like how to boat projects, expert opinion on boat buying, boat repair, all top tier stuff you'd expect to find in a world renowned sailing magazine. But also expert information on sailing destinations, sewing old sails, and sunbrella projects. Everything all the other sailors will want to read about. Because remember, the mission is to get more people sailing more easily. Now, having said all that, if you think you can write articles and have experience that will help other people in the boating world, head over to ladyksailing.com/writers and follow the instructions there. I have a lot of great submissions already, and a huge thank you to everyone so far, but I genuinely need more, and the money is there for more, so I'd love to hear from you. Now let's get to some headaches, because nothing will ruin your life aboard faster than these things. And number one is anchoring. This is likely the worst of all, because if you can't anchor, you can't sleep. And if you can't sleep, you're gonna hate living on a boat. When I started living on Lady K and traveling down the East Coast headed for paradise, one thing became abundantly clear. Every day I had to ask myself a serious question. Where am I going to keep the boat tonight? And every day, a new anchorage, new problems. Where am I going to keep the boat tonight becomes as routine as your morning coffee. And you study the charts for where you're going to be going tonight. You read the active captain blurbs to see what other people who anchored there had to say about the spot. And you come up with a plan for anchoring when you get there. Which way is the wind going to be blowing tonight? Which way will it be blowing tomorrow morning? What's the tide doing? How much scope will I need to put out based on the strength of the wind? How many other boats will be there? What boats am I traveling with, and how big are their anchors? It can all be very stressful, and stress will kill the joy of living on the boat in the first place. So how do we mitigate that stress? Obviously, learn how to anchor properly. That's number one. That means that when you approach the anchorage, you've already studied it at length on the chart. You know the depth, you know the shallow spots, you know about any obstructions that are marked, and you know which way the wind will be blowing. So you'll be able to pick a spot to drop the hook, knowing full well which way the boat is going to fall back away from the anchor. You'll know how much scope to put out, and if the tide changes or wind changes, which way you'll be blowing the next morning when you wake up. Having that plan, the next thing is to have the right anchor. Now, this is a heated debate on places like the internet, but I can tell you firsthand, most people have settled on using the new generation plow anchors, and the most common ones you're going to see are now the time-honored Rockna and Mantis brand plows. And the number one rule when picking one is go big or go home. My boat calls for a 35-pound anchor, so of course I bought the 55-pound model. It's massive and just within my ability to actually lift it. Any bigger and it would have been too much. Any smaller and I wouldn't sleep so well. The anchor then should be backed up by chain, followed by nylon rode. For East Coast in the Bahamas, you'll be looking for 100 feet of chain and 100 feet of rode behind it as a minimum. Bonus if you want to squeeze in 150 or 200 feet of chain. Chain is king. The people with the most chain tend to sleep the best. The most I ever used, and this was in a hurricane, is 120 feet of chain, followed by 150 feet of rode for almost 300 feet in use. But most commonly you'll have less than 150 feet out. And if it's all chain, all the better. Okay, once you have the anchor down, here's another expert level tip. and I've never heard this anywhere else. Install a USB charge port across from your bed. You'll really thank me for this one. Buy an old tablet with a 7-inch screen and permanently install it across from your bed. Download an Anchor app on that tablet and set the screen to never shut off or time out, so it's always on. You can turn the brightness down though. When you drop the hook for the night, tell that tablet where the anchor is and set your swing circle. Make sure that tablet's plugged into that USB port and go to sleep. This way, if you so much as squint your tired little eyes open at 3 o'clock in the morning, the first thing you'll see is that your boat is still safely in its drag circle. Safe, and you go back to sleep. If you don't do this, you'll have to fully wake up every time to check on the boat. And as we said, not sleeping will ruin cruising for you. I want to take a second to thank some people. The mission here at Lady K Sailing has always been to get more people sailing more easily, and I really couldn't do these videos without the support of the patrons. These are people who give a couple of bucks an episode so that I can keep making these videos. If you'd like to help out, please consider becoming a patron. Okay, the second thing that will ruin your life on a boat: electricity. Boats need power, and some more than others. And you don't want to be constantly worrying about your battery level all the time. It will drive you absolutely crazy. So first, obviously, install enough batteries. I have 450 amp hours, and I figured out how much I needed by trial and error, but you don't have to. Figure out how much power your boat actually uses before you load it up with batteries. The fridge, freezer, the autopilot, laptops, VHF, everything. I know what they draw, and I know what Lady K uses. She uses about 180 amp hours in a 24-hour period. 180. And I figured that out because I bought and installed a real shunted battery monitor. This is not a voltmeter. This measures every amp in and out of the batteries, and it will save you so much trouble. These are expensive, but they're worth it. If my boat is known to need 180 amp hours in a 24-hour period, I need to generate that much or more. Now I have 550 watts of solar, which will create about 40 amps every hour during peak condition. 40 amps for the 5 hours the sun is peak means I make about 200 amp hours back during daylight hours. It's actually more than that because of the off-peak sun helping too. 550 watts is enough to run Lady K off-grid almost entirely. And the fancy, expensive battery monitor means I always know what's going in and what's coming out, so I can go enjoy my life without worrying about electricity and all that stuff. And that's a very big deal when you live on a boat. And the third thing that will ruin your life living on a boat, you have to solve for water. Water is just like electricity. Worrying about it all day long will ruin your life. So you need to find a way to not have to worry about it. And yes, you could install a water maker, but they don't work everywhere. You need a clean water source to use it. So if you're busy in a marina or something, the water's pretty gross under your boat. You need to get out there to clean water to use it. And if you're on the go all the time, then that works pretty well. But another caveat to water makers, you have to use them frequently. If you don't, you have to pickle them. So Google how to do that. It's not much fun. So you'll often see people washing their whole boat every day or every other day with fresh drinking water just to use it up, because I have to keep running the water maker constantly, and that uses even more power. Or the second other school of thought with water makers is use it once and make a huge water supply. If you have the tankage, then you can pickle it and not use it again for weeks. Whichever way you plan to use your water maker, you'll have to build the boat around it. If you're going to use it every third day to avoid having to pickle it all the time, you don't need 500-gallon water tanks. If you want to use it once a month and pickle it in between, then you need huge water tanks. For me, I'm a use it every third day kind of sailor. Make what I need every few days. I won't have to pickle the stupid thing constantly, and the boat will be faster because I won't be hauling around hundreds of gallons of water ballast all the time. If you don't go with a water maker though, big tanks on your boat make sense, but so do jerry cans. I bought 6 of these square cans from Walmart, 7 gallons each, and they live under the bed right atop the keel. That's 42 gallons of drinking water available anytime I need it. So if my main tank is running low, I have 42 backup gallons. Also, these cans can be easily thrown in the dinghy and refilled at a dockside hose, usually for free, and in the islands, often for free from the town water spigot. My last thought on water, think about getting a Berkey. These are like the holy grail of water filters in boat life, tiny houses, camper life, buses, schoolies, all that. They are pricey, but they filter water so insanely well that people have tested them with like dirty pond water with critters in it. And all they got out at the end was perfectly clean, pure, healthy water. You could install an elaborate water filter system under the sink in your boat, but I can promise you those filters, when they need to be changed, won't be available down in the islands. And it's a lot of extra maintenance and installation, when a Berkey will probably do a better job anyway. Pay the big price like everyone else does and just mount it to the counter out of the way somewhere. That's what everybody does. Now, if you can solve for those 3 big headaches before you move on to your boat, you will save yourself a lot of trouble and reduce the risk that you'll actually hate doing this thing. Nothing would be worse than going to all the trouble to move aboard just to find out that the stress of it all ruins it for you. Now's a great time, if you would, to hit the like button on this video, and please also leave a comment. Tell other boaters what you do to reduce the stress of living aboard. What warnings do you have for the rest of us? How did you solve certain problems? And if you're boat shopping right now and you want to book an hour of my time, head over to ladyksailing.com/consults. I'd love to help you out. That's it for this week, guys. Until next time, keep the heavy side down, but not too far down. Love you guys.